Now we're going to look for the rest of the armor.
By the 9. I've not seen such strength. Could you be... No, you cannot. You are simply a noble knight.
I'm the champion of Cyrodiil, sir.
The original Order of the Nine was founded with the intention of safekeeping the Crusader's relics. In life, we failed at this task. In death, we seek to preserve what little we accomplished while we wait for one to come and finish what we began.
Sir Beric?
One of the mightiest knights of my day. It was a great boost to the Order's prestige when he joined.
Nothing left.
He and I did not
oh, no, okay.
on certain matters. He left the Order during the War of the Red Diamond and never returned. You completed the quest.
So at this point, I think we can safely just begin talking about the Knights of the Nine in particular and the Knights of the Nine in specific after we begin during our conversations here.
Guide your way.
I don't usually talk over when characters are also talking, but there's a lot I'll be covering today, and honestly, there's a lot of time I have to make up for issues that I have now become aware of when it comes to my previous recordings for my microphone audio. In both this episode and in the previous episode that actually began the Knights of the Nine DLC proper. Which is why you'll be hearing me speak as if I will be talking outside the fact. Excuse me for a second.
Amiel takes too much upon himself. I will say no more.
Yeah, that was a fly.
Walk with the Nine, sir.
I really don't know how I
know where you may find the gauntlets of the
I'm sorry about that clap.
But I was the one who lost them.
The way
Though many
what I was
know
trying to
where
say
they
is
are,
that, yeah, I'll just be
they are
talking
still
in general,
lost.
and I won't
believe there is
necessarily
something
always be
you
there
must
to give
do
commentary
in order
on
to
the
retrieve them.
actual
listen to my tale
quest
and learn
to
of the
retrieve
gauntlets
the
of fate.
Crusader's relics, because I may
When
be
the
more
order
preoccupied with
fractured,
discussing the
I
war.
followed Sir Beric
Well,
into
discussing
war.
basically anything I can
Taking
get
the
my hands on,
gauntlets with
because, let's be
When it
honest,
was over, I
it's going
returned
to be a
Cyrodiil.
bit difficult to know
I
exactly
attempted
when to actually
return to
talk
the
about
service of the Nine,
every little thing relating
but
to
the
Knights
war
of the
had
Nine.
changed me. I no longer had
So,
sympathy for the weak.
I guess
or
we'll
pity
start
for
with the actual
suffering.
foundation
In
of the
brief
Order of the
time
Knights of the
I
Nine.
was there. I did more to hurt the chapel than help.
The Knights of the Nine were created
It
in
was there
the Third Era
I was
during the
cursed.
year 111. Specifically,
A beggar who came to the chapel each day for help tried my patience one too many times.
yeah, no, that was a fly that
I
flew in
lost
front of my
my
face.
and struck him. My blow
see.
landed harder than I had intended, and he fell to the floor
The
dead,
Order
killed in the
was
very
founded
chapel
by
of
Sir
God
Amiel
of
Lanius, who
I left
was
the
a
chapel at once,
hero
of course,
of the War
and
of the
was dead.
Isle. So
I was weak,
let's
possibly
look
weary,
at that just a
and
little bit.
lacked the energy to do almost anything.
The War of the Isle was a conflict in the
yes.
early to mid
As
Third
proof of
Era
the
in
evil,
which
when I
King
struck the poor man, the
Orgnum
gauntlet
of the
slipped
Island
right
Kingdom
off my hands
Hyan,
and fell
Pyandonia attacked
heavy
the Somerset
as
Isles
stone, they would not move.
in their closest
None could lift
attempt to
them.
claim the
I
province.
suspect they lie there
This war
still.
took place in the Third Era in the year
You must prove to
110,
stand on.
12 years into
You are
Emperor
worthy to lift the
and
gauntlet
Tonkus
once
Septim's reign.
Seek out
They
the priests
involved
in
both the
Dora.
Third Empire and the Siege
Perhaps they
Order.
can help you.
Now, the Siege Order is no joke. If the Siege Order get involved in something, there's probably a lot of magic stuff going down.
I wish to see you succeed where I failed.
So, while the
was on the path
Malmor
to the
of
boots of the
Pyandia,
but died
Malmor
before I
are
reached
sea
them.
elves, by the way.
Do you wish
We've
to
never
learn
seen
what
one in a
little
video
I know?
game, not in a main Bethesda game,
Can I
not
tell
to
you
my knowledge
exactly
anyway.
how to find the boots? For that
While the
would be up to
Malmor
you.
have made attempts to invade the
can
Somerset
tell you
Isles
to seek
since
out the
time
priests, though.
immemorial, the
West of
exact
the
circumstances that
Imperial
led to
City,
this event are
on the
unknown,
edge of the great forest,
although
is
the
a shrine.
historical fiction, The Wolf
Find
Queen,
them there.
written by Walhin
tell you
Jarth,
what you need to
provides
know.
an account of events before the war broke out.
The boots are
3 months before the war and after the Pyandonians' declaration of war, Queen Potema arranged an evening dinner meeting with King Orgnum in the Blue Palace. While in the morning, she met the Sigil Order and the Right Master Lachise.
Have never known. But for the first time, it seems that someone may succeed where we
the Potema and Orgnum initially arranged a deal that in the outcome of the Pyondians conquered Tamriel, she would become empress over her older half-brother Antiochus, and through her manipulation convinced the Sigics to take Antiochus's deal and promised an insurrection against her brother. The war took place 3 months later, and a united alliance between the kings of the Somerset Isles and the Third Empire stood against the Malmar of Pyondea. Despite this unified power, the Imperial Navy and the Royal Somerset navies were unable to withstand Orgnum's fleet. Their victory was at the hand when a sudden freak storm appeared off the coast of Trium and annihilated the Armada. Legends accredit the storm to the Sigil Order, and it has since been agreed upon as such. Well, yeah, I mean, what we expecting to happen, we got the Sigil Order involved. Most of their dudes can, like, casually stop time and freeze other people in the immediate area. I'm not surprised I can, like, whip up a sea fleet destroying weather storm.
The great craftsman, Saint Calidus. Those seeking the myth
so, as far as the legacy left behind by the War of the Isle,
you will receive a vision.
The war was considered Antiochus's greatest victory, and as of 432, which is about way over 300 years into the Third Era, it was the Malmar's last documented appearance in Tamriel. The storm was said to be so violent that Orgnum could never muster enough strength to retaliate. However, no word from Pyondea could confirm this. Pyondea was no longer considered a world power. After the war, Orgnum lost his magical coffer, which provided only him with limitless wealth. People speculate that without the coffer to finance his army, he could not build another great fleet. The coffer washed up in the Somerset Isles and become an elusive artifact ever since.
And let your faith in the Nine be the salvation of us all.
King Orgnum's coffer is a magical chest, small and ordinary looking, but almost weightless. Once per day, a random number of gold coins will appear from the coffer. Though in Orgnum's possession, it was an unlimited supply.
Greetings, Sir Knight.
Oh, because you could get it in the... Yeah, I think the
Nine guide
first
your way. If you are true to the teachings of Julianus,
in the first video
it
game,
may be possible for you to find the shield of the Crusader.
One of the war's most well-known veterans was Amiel Lannis, who, after his heroic deeds in the war, founded the Knights of the Nine, a knightly order that was dedicated to recovering the Crusaders' relics. To write The Wolf Queen, Walghan Jarth interviewed veterans for personal accounts of the war because he believed some of what he was told was exaggerated. He omitted dubious details for his historical fiction. Potema's insurrection, hinted in The Wolf Queen, later became a reality with the War of the Red Diamond, which came not long after Emperor Antiochus' death. But we're not here to talk about Queen Potema. So,
it lies in the southeast of Cyrodiil, near the Black Marsh border. If all went according to plan, it should be very well guarded now. Believe in yourself and use your knowledge wisely.
With that
you will
taken
pass
care
through
of,
unharmed, and the shield will be yours. The shield
I think the
is
only thing
safeguarded
left to really
within
do now is just
walk with the Nine, Sir Knight.
Yep, just proceed on with normal gameplay.
You're the one restoring the Knights of the Nine, aren't you?
So, the general gist of
My name
things
is Kennedy
with this
Soho.
particular DLC
Like
quest
you, I am a servant of
is
the
that
Nine, specifically
throughout the
Zenithar.
gameplay, we'll be
I came here
encountering
seeking
a
space.
select few
However, I could not pass the
non-generic
test.
NPCs
I'm no
who
Crusader, but that
will have
doesn't
their
mean I
own
cannot serve
in-character
Zenithar.
reasons for eventually joining
Light
your
of recent
knightly
attacks,
order.
I've signed on to protect the chapel. I'm
This
fair
person
play.
is
By
basically
my
the
honor,
first
I'll serve
one
the
who's
Nine
actually going to
any way
join
I can.
up, straight up. Well, not him. we took a very different route to doing the Pilgrim's Path in the first part of this DLC. So we did not run into two particular members of the Knights of the Nine during the walk. We will eventually meet one of them later, but for the most part, those two people we were supposed to meet are also being given to us as sub for another quest in this DLC later on. But they're definitely meant to introduce you to the idea that the people you'll eventually run across in this DLC will have an vested interest in joining the Knights of the Nine themselves.
Of the original divines, Zenithar is thought to be the most in touch with the mortal realm. Some legends say that Zenithar has close ties to Kinnereth, an idea that is supported by the manner in which the two gods' realms interact. Craftsmen devoted to Zenithar are able to create and profit from the materials provided by Kinnereth's natural world.
Yeah, so Zenithar is a god of work and commerce,
the natural world providing
and the provider of our ease. Basically, he's a trader god, frequently seen as the same deity as the boss god Zayan. In the Empire, however, Zenithar is the more cultivated god of merchants and buildability, since he's the deity of wealth, labor, commerce, communication, and community. With that being said, he has strong ties to Cyrodiil and Hybrock.
Centuries later,
the introduction of the word. So let's see. It's true that he stopped being associated with Kinnereth,
when St. Calidus was laid to rest, those who
and he is the one that created the Mace of the Crusader. So temples devoted to Zenithar are sometimes called resolutions. Worship of Zenithar is typically more prevalent in some geographical areas, like Leywin, Tobatu, and Cambria. A blacksmith's anvil is Zenithar's symbol, representing labor and production. The Daggerfall Merchants Guild is known to award small golden anvils to Zenithar's name to saying members, and worshippers of Zenithar often keep small devotional anvils in their homes and pewter scale weights engraved with a blue star in the coin purse for financial luck in trying times. So yeah, when you're walking down to this crypt, you're gonna be kind of spooked up at seeing these specters because you're used to fighting them. But no, they're not. They're harmless and will not hurt you, not unless you hurt them first. So this is something you can choose to do. So the Crusader Relics quests are really freeform. You can get the shield, the mace, the gauntlets, the boots in almost any order. And I say almost any order because the trick to getting the mace here is that we need to wear the boots in order to show our faith.
What brings you to the altar of Kinnereth, my child?
Which we're doing right now.
The holy relic Kinnereth has bestowed upon the world. Then you must
Kinnereth is the goddess of the heavens, the winds, the sea, the elements, and the unseen spirits of the air.
And you must pass the test before you may be
She is the patron of sailors and travelers. Kinnereth is often invoked for auspicious stars at birth and for good fortune daily life. In some legends, she is the first degree of Lorkhan's divine plan to create the mortal plane and provides the space and the void for its creation. Furthermore, she is associated with rain, a phenomenon that is said to not have occurred before the removal of Lorkhan's divine spark.
Nature and all her creations.
Kinnereth is more specifically the mother of the demigod Morihaus, who I talked about in the last video as being one of the three demigods besides Umril and Pelennor Whitestrake. Morihaus is Pelennor Whitestrake's best friend. She's also suspected of communicating with Saint Alessia through visions of Pellennor's imminent arrival. And for Skyrim players, the throat of the world is described as being Kinnereth's sacred mountain by the Greybeards.
I warn you that it is unwise to take anyone with you. You should go there alone.
Basically, this test of Kinnereth's here right now.
Kinnereth may choose to guard you along the way. That
is going to be a test of how you can commune with nature peacefully and without being hostile.
You have been in the chapel of Kinnereth from the moment you stepped outdoors. Have you not felt her presence? We gather here to pay tribute to all of the blessings she bestows upon us.
So the trick here, you're gonna see me not get it at first because I still have all my reflect damage equipment on my character. Since I don't have the shield of the Crusader, for example, I'm still using the Essuchion of Coral. Which means that if you deal any damage to the bear, like I did right there with reflect damage, you will not be able to pass Kinnerif's trial here. So take off all your reflect damage equipment, and then just sit there and let the bear maul you. You'll be fine. Just a few seconds of not being hit, and you'll genuinely be fine. And inside this cave, you'll find two Spriggans guarding the boots of the Crusader. The boots of the Crusader will now allow us to...
I must admit my curiosity at your endeavor. So many have tried and failed to retrieve the mace. What makes you think that you will succeed?
I have the proper equipment this time.
Legends say that when...
Yeah, I try to talk to most of the NPCs in this area for the sake of it, but not all of them have anything to say, and for the most part, all of them are actually non-essential, which means that they can be lost, and because of that, the game doesn't consider them worth keeping around. Come here with the boots equipped, the path will be open for you, and you'll be able to get the mace right away. So if you kept track, that means we have 4 of the 8 Crusader relics. And at that point, the Aurorans, who, remember, are Daedra that belong to Meridia's realm of Oblivion, will attack you. Now, if you want to save the NPCs here, like I did, you need to find a way to either kill the Aurorans as fast as possible so that the armorless NPCs can survive the fight, or you can use a spell that maximizes their physical defenses, like I already had for using on Martin during the battle, to defend Bruma, and make sure that you spam that crap on the armorless NPCs to give them enough time to survive these really powerful melee attacks. And Aurorans are not a joke, because of course we're at level 30 now, and they scale to you. Sorry about that. Needless to say, I did this part more than once, because I just wanted to save the NPCs.
I see in you the makings.
And that meant skipping some dialogue here or there.
Saved our lives.
But you won't be seeing the multiple attempts, because that's just gonna... That just eats needless amounts of time for this particular video. Like, the DLC itself is actually pretty short, but making enough content for at least 3 videos of it was kind of a challenge. Because, really, this part here was this second of the 3 videos on the Knights of the Nine DLC that you are watching was originally
I can't believe it.
flat out well over an hour and a half long.
I was wrong.
By the time you watch on YouTube, it should be
your forgiveness.
like 54 minutes at most.
Aye.
My pleasure.
And the reason for that is a very simple one. Because I basically... This section of gameplay here, where I look for the Crusader's shield in the Wizard of the Ages quest, is the longest piece of gameplay, uninterrupted, I did when looking for any of the relics. And you were by far going to see the most jump cuts relating to getting to it compared to everyone else. So let's see. Shield of the Crusader. Cool. So since we're here, there's nothing else I really have to talk about. Let's discuss the creator of the Shield of the Crusader, Julianus.
I give up!
the god of wisdom and logic, governing the realms of literature, law, history, and contradiction. He's usually associated with magic and thus is often revered by wizards. Julnal, the Nordic father of language and mathematics, fell out of favor in the Nordic pantheon, afterwards became Julianus of the Divines. Monastic orders founded by Tiber Septim and dedicated to Julianus are the keepers of the Elder Scrolls. He is particularly venerated among many Imperials and Bretons, but he also sees worship among the four Bear Red Guards, and as divine, he represents the virtue of learning scholarship and justice. His domains include sorcery, alchemy, and enchantment. He is said to enchant the damned equation, which is very weird. I don't even know where that came from. But okay. Julianus created the shield of the Crusader for repelling the White Strike to help defeat Umaril. And there's also an entire chapel dedicated to his worship in Skingrad. Finally, there is a chantry of Julianus in the Imperial City. The ancient Nords worshipped... Yeah, we already went over that. Alessia fused the Nordic and Elven pantheons together for her new empire, which created the aspect of Julianus. While certain aspects of the Alessian reforms remain controversial in some parts of Skyrim, there's little controversy regarding the role of Julianus. And in the Ilgbe, temples dedicated to him are known as schools of Julianus. As the name implies, these temples are considered educational institutions. They are believed to have spread the term magica to describe the power associated with performing magic. Julianus is the patron deity of the regions Lainlin, Diana, Abangora, Daiwin, Tulin, and Satakalan. After imperialization and the loss of independence, some Reachmen embraced the worship of the divines, including Julianus. This is a Skyrim thing, believing that certain aspects of their traditional practices were best left in the past. But that's basically Julianus in a nutshell. He's connected to Matt. I think the most interesting thing about him is that he's a dude connected to magic, but he made a shield for the Pelennor White Strike. I mean, with some of these divines, you're eventually gonna have, like, if you're literally a god who's gonna make a piece of armor for one other divine being, I guess it's gonna be kind of difficult to make sure that the guy is able to use your particular sphere of influence effectively in battle. Because the shield of the Crusader... Oh, no, actually, yeah. The shield of the Crusader grants anyone who has it equipped up to 18% chance to reflect spells. Which, you know, makes a lot of sense, actually. Your whole thing is teaching people about magicka, and you want to create a defensive piece of equipment for a dude who is going to have to fight against someone known as the alien half-wizard king. Giving him some way to protect himself from his magic is definitely something you want to do. So yeah, respect for Julianus for actually making this particular...
I've lost track of how long they've held me here.
Who are you?
Sir Thedrin. I came here seeking the shield of the Crusader, and was ambushed by these cowards. They've held me here since.
So what are you doing here then, Sir Frederick?
I've been held prisoner by these scoundrels for the longest time. They want to know how to reach the shield, and believed I would help them. When I refused, they locked me here, and only let me out to torture me. They got nothing from me.
So
I can't go with you if that's what you mean. I'm too weak. I need to rest. Once I have my strength, I will certainly join your cause. You'll have to go on alone, but the knowledge I've gained may be of use to you. Before finding this place, I learned a bit about those who created it. It's designed to keep the shield hidden and safe.
Yeah, no duh, dude.
Coming up in the writings I found. When the eyes of the Guardians are upon you, Julianos will show you favor. I'm not sure how, but I just know it's a clue for making it safely through these ruins. You're the only one I've told. I hope it helps you.
Yeah, throughout this dungeon, you'll actually find more clues to pass through all the dungeon puzzles as well. Mostly through the notes left by these wizards who are trying to communicate with each other exactly what is needed to do in order to pass through these dungeons yourself. Which is kind of funny to me, because, I mean, the intelligence stat is usually associated with being genuinely smart. That's the way the Radiant Comets in-game operate, whenever you sometimes walk by and a random NPC will comment you on how intelligent you genuinely seem to be. So, I mean, you'd think that a group of wizarding bandits, for the most part, would be able to figure out some relatively simple floor puzzles. But they can't. Like, that's also some of the funniest things to me. When the issue is a puzzle that doesn't seem possible for the average person to pass, I can understand it. And that's why I think it would make more sense for this dungeon to be filled with regular bandits. But due to use magic, not being able to figure out how to, like, move a couple of statues around or how to operate pressure plates, it always makes me laugh a little bit. Like, I'm a normal schmuck, but what's their excuse? Anyway, we did another floor puzzle. There's actually 4 puzzles to deal with in this room, this dungeon, and the final puzzle is coming up now. What we're gonna have to do is another puzzle where we'll inevitably have to take 8 pieces of, take 8 items from this chest that will randomly spawn one of the items, and then pay attention to what item each of the 8 statues is holding up when we step on the pressure plate. By doing that, we'll know where to put the item we loot from the chest into the pressure plate next. And let me tell you, editing this part of the video was definitely kind of a pain. You have to be really specific so that you don't see a bunch of time-wasting nonsense. Because you're seeing me not just pick up the item, but scroll through my inventory to get to the item every single time I have the proper item to place into one of the 8 chests. And I'm not gonna lie, I was also kind of frustrated with the way of the puzzle, because I thought I had it figured out the first time, but then I didn't, and I really did not care to, like, stay stuck in this puzzle. But ultimately, that's just a me problem. The puzzle is actually pretty nicely designed as far as mystique goes, and I can at least imagine a very impatient person failing to actually make this puzzle, get this puzzle to work. This is just me taking the time to loot everything we managed to win here, because, I mean, this loot's been down here for centuries. I'm surprised these potions didn't go bad or something, you know? And do these scrolls still even work? Did Pelennor Whitestreak have these potions and scrolls? No, he didn't. No, I don't think so. But that's him. Now we're gonna get the gauntlets. Or we would, but there's a store behind the gauntlets.
Hello there. What brings you here, my son? Ah, yes. The gauntlets have been here for ages. I know only the basic story behind them. They're more of a novelty these days. My only real involvement with them these days is keeping the youngsters from hurting themselves trying to pick the gauntlets up. What is your interest in them, if I may ask? Yes, well, I don't know the whole thing. A great many years ago, a knight of the old order did something terrible, and the gauntlets just fell off. They dropped to the floor right where he stood, and no one could lift them. It was a sign of the curse placed upon this knight by Stendar, I believe. That curse still lingers on today, in fact. Poor Kevin.
Yeah, so
why?
we already
He's a
heard the
descendant
story
of
when we
that
talked
very night
to...
from so long ago. The
Yeah, we already
curse
talked
has
to
affected
the
his family
ancestor
since
of this Kellen person back in the Priory of the Nine.
he came here from Hammerfell seeking a cure.
Stendar is known as Stendar the
There's really
Steadfast,
nothing that can
or
be done for
the
him.
god of mercy, charity,
know
well-earned
more
luck,
of the
and
story.
justice.
Perhaps you
He's
should
also
speak with
known
him
as a god
if
of
he's feeling
compassion,
well,
and someone who righteously rules
gauntlet,
by the
they're-
mighty and merciful
He's down in the chapel
forbearance.
hall, resting.
The
Farewell.
apologist of men. Please pay attention to those unbelievable titles. The apologist of men. Righteous rule by might and merciful forbearance. God of compassion. God of mercy. God of charity and justice.
What is it? Is there a cure? Has Arelda found
And
a
for
cure?
some unbelievable
I know there's something
reason,
he's not telling me.
Stendar decided that it was totally fair to punish Kendall's entire family
Almost longer than anyone can remember.
for the failure
When I
of
was
his
younger,
ancestor.
I could live with you. Wasn't so bad. But until it gotten worse over
It's super messed
time,
up.
I'd come here to the place it all happened.
Like, Sir Casimir's
In the hopes
family
that
did
something
deserve
could
to
be
suffer
done.
for Sir Casimir's failures.
Fear I haven't much time.
If you're an apologist of man and you understand what justice, compassion, and mercy means, this is just one of the worst ways you could ever teach it.
knows more than else.
Because, like,
I've seen plenty of pity in people's
the
eyes,
idea of
and when
punishing
he speaks
people
to me,
for actions
there
they
are times
were...
I swear he sounds.
I really
even as
hate
he
it
had to hold back information.
when
Speak to him.
stories don't
Convince
allow
him
you to
tell
point
me
out
what
that
he knows.
having other characters be
Dying
punished for the
man's
actions
last
of their forebears is actually pretty messed up.
You've seen them, I assume.
And it's just
The only evidence
really...
of what happened so many years ago.
I think of, like,
Do you
all the
know
other
that I
tests
ought
we've
to
had to
have
deal with so
lifted
far, because this is a test.
That somehow
Basically,
this
the
curse
test here
lifted.
is
If I could
backwards, though,
pick them up,
because
I
it's
tried
not a
for
fair
hours,
test.
until my whole body ached, and I could barely move. I lay there on the floor next to the
Like-
pumpy. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I've been at the end of my rope for far too long to be ashamed of anything. Good day.
It's not a fair test, and I genuinely, this part of the DLC got me the most emotional. Like, I like the story of it,
Welcome.
but this emotional
I
bond
cannot face it.
between
I know what might be done for him.
Kellen
I
and
haven't the will to
Arelder,
do it.
I actually
wish I could
felt
help him.
something
Truly.
for these
But I
characters
cannot muster the
more than
strength
I
to
normally
damn
did
myself
for the
on his
others.
behalf. The curse. I know what would lift it, but I cannot do it. I fail Kellen every time I speak to him, and I fail Stendar every time I pray to him and do not ask for the power to lift the curse. Do you
Dude,
know
I
one
think
who would do such a thing?
praying for
One who
Stendar
pray
would
at
be
this
like
chapel's
the
altar,
worst
pray
thing
to
you could have
Stendar
done.
for the power to lift this curse?
Because Stendar would not actually,
He's
like,
down in
again, like,
I've
Stendar's
told
mercy wouldn't mean
the only way to
anything at
lift
all.
the curse from Kellen is to... But that means taking the curse on yourself. You'll be marked for life, as will all your children and your children's children. Take care.
You shouldn't feel like his refusal to take on a divine curse that he has nothing to do with, but would basically, yeah, like, that's just kind of an unfair thing to ask for anyone. That's a genuinely unfair thing to ask for anyone, and while it does serve as the impetus for this guy eventually joining the Knights of the Nine, I think the setup for it is,
Come back to see the dude.
again, it's just mostly me, like,
I don't know why they're still here. They're so heavy, and I'm so weak. What does Stendar want from me? The church is
Stendar,
I don't think anyone...
that's the messed up part.
Farewell.
If this was something for Kellen to pass, that would be one
Any
thing.
friend of
but
Martin's is a friend of mine.
that line was definitely random.
Take
But
your time.
again, that's probably just because it's the same voice actor. And several of the black characters in the game were also part of the Blades. So the same voice actor just had his canned dialogue repeat throughout almost all the black NPCs in the game. Eventually I figured out that it was a spell I had to use and not like a quest item. This is why this is popping up right now.
How did you? I feel good. I feel good. I don't feel like death. I feel like running.
And this voice acting right here is so nice.
I
feel
can't
genuinely
believe
happy
it.
for this character.
Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me. I finally have a chance to get out and see the world. I'm not wasting another second of my life, and I'm forever indebted to you, friend. Farewell.
Yeah, you do that, buddy. Anyway, this is just me showing off how the armor looks at this point, as well as trying to look at the other buffs I've gotten from each armor piece. Because sometimes an armor piece buff is a passive, and sometimes it's actually another spell you can cast on yourself. But either way, since we got that done and passed the Stendar's really stupid challenge, we can tell
You lifted
Auraldor
the curse?
the good news.
That means that now you've cursed yourself. Why
No, it
would you
doesn't.
do such a thing?
Because the curse was actually lifted from me as well.
Goodbye.
And now I can just tell Auraldor they got the gauntlets. We're missing the Greaves, but we'll get the Greaves after this one is
I
done.
can't believe you were willing to do that for Kellen. To sacrifice your own well-being without hesitation. What business do I have acting as a priest if I'm not willing to do all I can in helping those who need it? Perhaps I need to rethink my calling. Please.
Oh.
Sir Knight, thank Arthur you're back. I have terrible news. Sir Roderick, I think he's dead.
Yeah, see, the thing is, this would hit a lot harder if we had met Lahon during the Pilgrim's Path, like I said earlier we were supposed to, but because I was able to fast travel to the Way Shrines, we pretty much just skipped the entire idea of doing the Pilgrim's Path that way.
Back and forth across Colovius.
So,
He was
the
always asking
intended
about an old
emotional
noble
beat
fact
this was
of
supposed to
Lindros.
provide you is
Finally.
lost.
He found what he was looking for. We went to Underpole Cave, and there he fell.
It is lost. No problem. No
He
problem.
said that Sir Barrick's tomb was an Underpole
And characters-
cave, which is no cave, but some kind of buried keep. He had learned that Sir Barrick had once been a questing knight, like us. He had found the greaves and sword of the Crusader, but then turned to evil. Sir Roderick hoped to find the relics within Sir Barrick's tomb, and he did. But we also found a terrible guardian, the wraith of Lord Vlindrel, Sir Barrick. Yes, my lord, and I brought you. Sir Roderick shouted for me to take them. The greaves, the holy relic, they're yours.
We're pretty much at the tail end of the search for the Crusader's
I don't know
relics.
how that evil thing could use the holy weapon, but it did.
Getting the
Screamed as
Greaves handed to us is a bit weird, I
sorry.
admit,
I remember
because the
Sir Roderick
length
saying
the
something
game will
about
go
the sword.
to
Before we went to Underpole,
force you to get
it may be important. He
the
was worried that the sword may have been turned to evil.
almost every
That
other
it may have
piece,
to be reconsecrated on the altar of its
including the
creator,
fact that we
the
had to
divine
first
arcade.
go on a
So I remember.
seafaring adventure
Hope it may help you.
in order to get the helmet to begin with,
Thank you.
but
I would ask a boon if I could, although I know I do not deserve it. Would you make me a Knight of the Nine? I want to dedicate myself to ridding the world of evil. I owe it to Sir Roderick.
absolutely.
Thank you. I mean, thank you, Sir Knight. I will not fail you. Give me a moment to arm myself, and I will accompany you to Underpaw Cave to destroy the foul wraith.
All right.
I find myself here at your disposal.
And like I said
I want
earlier,
to make up for the
most of the
mistakes I've
NPCs we
and devote
met so
myself
far
fully
on this
to the
journey
If it
are
pleases
here
you,
for us to
I would
recruit,
join your order and
to
serve the
join
nine
in the
at your
fight
side. What say you?
as actual knights.
Thank you. It means a great deal to me. Excuse me while I gather the equipment I need.
Now, you do have the ability to turn all of them down. I'm not sure
We
why
meet
you
again.
would, because
I am
actually
here
having
to join
named
your
the
order,
characters to join
having
you instead
received
of
a
someone
divine
generic
vision from
is
Kinnereth
always
herself.
better.
I have been shown
turn
that to
them down.
protect
There's
all
literally nothing
Kinnereth's
you gain from
creations,
it.
I must take up your call.
I am at your...
Yeah, we got the
You've
Mace
passed
of the
Senator's
Relics.
challenge and redeemed Sir Ralvis. Oh, congratulations. Sir Junkin will be pleased to hear this. It seems that he fell further into...
Yeah, dude, I'm sorry about your former buddy, but he's like basically some sort of zombie lord now, and there's really nothing else we can do to help him.
The sword agrees.
But I will
Sir Caius tried
help him. Don't worry about it. I'll purify his soul with the power of the Crusader's relics. He'll be laid. He'll be freed.
Steps. That was the end of the old...
Is that the right way I should phrase this? No, I mean, I can't redeem the dude. I just don't want him to spend eternity being a wraith.
But it was no use.
Character there. Redeem him.
If you destroy
Do you want
the
to?
wraith that
Absolutely.
Sir Beric has become, you will be doing him a service.
It's kind of weird.
You must
and
free him from the
for it.
evil that has ensnared him.
No. Now we're at the right cave for the Sword of the Crusader quest. And since we're basically at the end here, I guess the most appropriate thing to do would be to talk about who created the sword. And the creator of the sword is Archay. Lord of the Wheel of Life, God of the cycle of birth and death, Light of lights and the bringer of light. And he's an extremely popular god outside of the divine cultures. Archay is often more important in those cultures where his father Akatosh is either less related to time or where his time aspects are difficult to comprehend by the layman. He has god burials and feudal rites and is generally associated with cyclical occasions such as the seasons and life-death. His priests are staunch opponents of necromancy in all forms of the undead and are empowered to bestow Archay's blessings which prevent the force from using the soul. Thus, any body properly buried by a priest observing the proper rituals instructed by Archay's law remain raised as undead. Therefore, necromancers view Archay as their ultimate enemy and make covert attempts to undermine his worship through Tamriel. Because of the association with and protection of mortality, he's sometimes called the Mortal's God. Now, in relation to this, we talked about this during the Mage's Guild questline, but Metamarco becoming the King of Worms and a god of necromancy in his own right is explicitly the reason why black soul gems are able to capture the souls of mortal men, which are black. Ordinarily, Archay will prevent such a thing from his very existence, but the events of Oblivion changed the landscape of that forever by allowing necromancers to get around Archay's law, so to speak. And basically, another interesting fact about Archay is that the Bosmer invoke him when solving offenses against the Green Pact. The Green Pact is basically what the Bosmer sometimes do to animals they've killed in a fight. They eat the animals they kill. Don't waste your kills, says the Green Pact. That sort of thing. Let's see. Speaking of more about Archay, one legend of Archay's origins is told by Bretons in the book Archay the God, stating that Archay was once a mortal shopkeeper with a passion for English. He found the book written in a strange language and spent years by years attempting to decipher it, slowly ignoring everything and everyone around him. Eventually, Archay realized the book explained life and death itself. but by this time was at death's door with an incurable plague. Praying to Mara as last resort, Arcade asks for more time to remember the book. Mara gave him a choice: die now, become God for eternity, charged with keeping the balance of death and life in the universe. Small stone tablets. That is one heck of an interpretation of it. Really cool idea. Another theory of Arcade's origins is contained in the Monomyth, which suggests that Arcade was one of the very first spirits who crystallized at the start of time. That is Imperial belief. And Nords consider Arcade to be the Nordic aspect of the god Orki, a testing god associated with the snake that governed death and enjoyed the quarrels of all kind. Orki seems to have some association with Malkath and orcs. A notable legend saying Orki caused the Nords, who were previously able to live as long as elves, and elves typically live up to like 300 years, to have their lifespan.
You were a brave knight, and
like 6 years, or short of the curse that threw most of the orcs. So, Nords went from being able to live for 300 years to 6 years, and then that particular ability was thrown to the orcs. I don't know. That's just a theory, and obviously it doesn't make any sense or hold up under scrutiny from the way Nords and orcs look and age in game. The shift from Orki to Arcade happened with the Alessian reforms that fused aspects of the Elven and Northic pantheons being embraced in much of Skyrim. And Nordic priests of Arcade perform rites to the dead and sometimes console the bereaved. They also keep a constant vigil against those who practice the vile arts of necromancy. And with this being what Arcade represents, you can obviously find shrines of Arcade in Skyrim Halls of the Dead. The Reach, on the other hand, embrace worship of the Eight Divines. Right, okay. Again, I don't know why I'm even bothering to talk about the Reach. It's not that important. The Redguard are probably the only ones left to have anything worth talking about. In Hammerfell, where worship of Arcade is the strongest, the dead are almost always subject to Arcade's law. There are exceptions after large battles or in remote areas where death occurs far from priests. Redguard follows Arcade seen as the shepherd of the soul who watches through lives and deaths and guides one between them in the heavenly interim. Some sources connect Arcade with Tuatha through the early Nedic precursor Tuarca. Indeed, symbolism striking through the Arcade's reef appears on many ancient Yokudan tombs. Tuatha's cult is sometimes associated with Arcade in the more cosmotopian regions of Hammerfell. It is often worshipped in that name by forebears. One source has conflated Arcade with the Yokunan goddess Morwa in the past, although it's unknown if this was speaking in a true connection or was simply a scholarly mistake. Speaking of mistakes, we were fighting more Orans. These guys just love showing up to ruin my day. This time we want to stop the scripted killing of the Master Restoration Trainer that occurs in this particular chapel. The lady over there. And we're almost done with the... Yeah, we got them. These battle axes there are pretty cool, but yeah, they have Daedra hearts too. They're Daedra. They're being summoned by Umariel to fight with us.
From being defiled by those foul creatures.
And
ever since
we even have the sword.
Took over the captain of the guard post, this city's gone downhill. It's getting almost scary to walk the streets. The guards have imposed new, ridiculously.
I'm really just talking to this lady so I can get this side quest in my journal for the sake of saying I have it, but I obviously don't have anything to...
Go talk to Levana.
We're also not going to do the side quest right now. The video's not already long enough, and hell, the video is basically over now. So, now we've gotten everything, we just need to purify the sword to make sure it is also redeemed of its evil, just like the fallen knight who used to wield it was. And that's going to be it for this video as well. Here's the Mace of Crusader for comparison with turn undead and fire damage. And here's the sword, which has damage magicka and fire damage instead. Basically, they're not superior to one another. It depends on what you want to use. And we'll definitely be using one of these on Umaril next time.